Last night, the WNBA turned into a stage for pure, unfiltered drama, the kind you couldn't script even if you tried. What unfolded on the court didn't just shock the crowd inside the arena, it exploded across social media, igniting heated debates and dividing fans into rival camps. A game that was supposed to be business as usual instantly transformed into a high-stakes showdown fueled by tension, emotions, and personal rivalries that had clearly been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. Every bump, every glare, every whispered word between players carried a weight that only insiders seemed to truly understand. And then in a flash, it all boiled over into a moment so intense, so unexpected, that the entire arena seemed to freeze. Commentators stumbled over their words. Fans rose from their seats, and the name at the center of it all became the trending topic overnight. If you thought this WNBA season had already delivered its share of fireworks, I think again. This was just the beginning, and the fallout from this moment could reshape the league's entire narrative for the rest of the year. The night started like any other, but within minutes, it was clear something was different. The energy on the court wasn't just competitive, it was volatile. Every bump, every shove, every whistle from the referee felt heavier than usual. Players were jawing at each other after nearly every possession, and instead of letting it go, they were holding on to the tension like it was personal. You could see it in their faces. This wasn't just about winning a game, this was about sending a message. The crowd, at first thrilled by the intensity, slowly began to sense that things were heading in a dangerous direction. It wasn't long before the physicality crossed a line. A hard foul near midcourt stopped the game in its tracks. One player hit the floor hard, teammates rushed over, and suddenly the air was thick with confrontation. Coaches were shouting, refs were scrambling to restore order, but the emotion on both sides was already boiling over. You could tell this wasn't going to be contained with a quick whistle and a timeout. This was the beginning of the next few possessions made it crystal clear the game had spiraled into a battle of pride, not just basketball. What should have been smart, disciplined play turned into a series of reckless collisions. One player drove hard to the rim, but instead of going for the ball, the defender met her with a body check that sent her sprawling into the baseline. The whistle blew, but the damage was already done. The benches rose to their feet, teammates shouting across the court, and you could see that respect between the teams had completely vanished. Every trip down the floor became a chance for payback, and the referees were caught in the middle of a storm they clearly couldn't control. Fans began to boo, not because of a bad call, but because they could sense the integrity of the game slipping away. Cameras caught players exchanging words that needed no lip reading to understand it was ugly, raw, and boiling over. And then, in a moment that will be replayed for days, a scuffle broke out near the three-point line, forcing the officials to huddle, review, and ultimately make a decision that would change the tone of the entire night. That pivotal moment came when the referees announced a flagrant foul upgrade, and the crowd erupted in mixed reactions, some cheering for justice, others furious at what they saw as an overreach. But the real story wasn't just the call. It was how the players responded. Instead of cooling tempers, the ruling poured gasoline on a fire that was already burning out of control. You could feel the tension in every dribble, every defensive stance. Caitlin Clark, clearly fed up with the rough play, demanded the ball and drove hard into the lane, refusing to be intimidated. On the other side, her defenders stood their ground, sending a clear message. If you want points, you're going to have to fight for every single one. The arena was electric chants, echoing, fans on their feet, and the air so thick with drama you could cut it with a knife. Each possession felt like it might explode into another confrontation, and the referees' whistles became almost constant, trying to restore a game that had become anything but ordinary. And just when it seemed like maybe, just maybe, cooler heads might prevail, another hard foul stopped the action cold, and this one would set off the loudest reaction of the night. The collision that followed was the kind you see replayed on highlight reels for weeks, not for the skill, but for the sheer physicality. Caitlin Clark took a hit midair that sent her sprawling to the hardwood, her teammates immediately rushing in, while the crowd roared in disbelief. The Fever bench was up, shouting at the officials, while the opposing players threw their hands in the air, claiming it was clean defense. But no one in the building could ignore the sound of the impact. It was loud, heavy, and left Clark clutching her side. Trainers ran out, the arena went quiet for a moment, and all eyes were glued to whether she would even stand. Then, in true Caitlin Clark fashion, she rose to her feet, jaw set, refusing to let them see weakness. She took the inbound pass on the very next play, as if daring her opponents to try it again. The referees huddled at midcourt, reviewing the footage as tensions reached a boiling point. Every fan knew this wasn't just about one play anymore, this was about setting the tone for the rest of the season. And when the call finally came down, it only fanned the flames of an already explosive rivalry. The decision from the refs was met with instant outrage. Instead of upgrading the foul, they ruled it a common play, and that's when the Fever faithful lost it. Boos rained down from every corner of the arena, fans pounding the boards in frustration. On the sidelines, Fever head coach visibly bit his lip, clearly holding back what he wanted to say to avoid a technical. Caitlin just gave a short nod, almost as if she knew she'd have to fight through nights like this all season. But her response wasn't to complain, it was to take over. On the very next possession, she crossed up her defender, pulled up from well beyond the arc, and drilled a deep three that sent the crowd into a frenzy. It was her way of saying, if the refs won't protect me, I'll protect myself with buckets. Every possession after that was a war, elbows flying, players jawing at each other, the energy at playoff intensity, despite it being just a regular season game. By the time the final buzzer sounded, this wasn't just a win or a loss anymore, it was a mess. This game will be remembered far beyond the box score. It wasn't just about Caitlin Clark putting up points. It was about the fire, the grit, and the sheer will to stand her ground in a league that hasn't exactly rolled out the red carpet for her. Every shove, every missed call, every side eye from her opponents was met with the same response: compete harder. And that's exactly what she did. But the bigger picture here is impossible to ignore. The WNBA is watching, the fans are watching, and every future opponent is now aware that Caitlin Clark will not be intimidated. She's proven she can take the hits, both literal and figurative, and still find a way to lead her team when it matters most. The controversy over the officiating isn't going away anytime soon, and neither is the conversation about how the league treats its rising stars. But for now, one thing is certain: if the WNBA thought Caitlin Clark was just another rookie they could push around, they just got a harsh reality check.